More than 2,000 years ago, a small state was under attack by a large state. Having been defeated in several consecutive battles, it intended to send an envoy of high status to seek peace. A minister said, "At present, the initiative is completely in the hands of the large state. They will surely seize the opportunity to completely defeat our army. Even if we send someone to sue for peace, they will not listen. It would be better to use precious treasures to curry favor with other states. Then the large state will suspect that various states are going to form an alliance to oppose it, and only in this way can our peace negotiation have a chance of success." However, the king didn't listen and still sent someone to seek peace. The minister further said, "If we send an envoy of high status, the large state will surely show respect to him on purpose to draw the attention of other states. When other states see that our Lord is seeking peace, they will surely not send troops to rescue us. Once the large state knows that other states will not send troops to rescue us, the attempt to seek peace will surely fail." And it turned out to be exactly the case later. The minister demonstrated a profound understanding of international relations and military strategies. He realized that under the war situation dominated by the large state, seeking peace could not be achieved simply by sending an envoy for communication. The strategy he proposed of using other states to check and balance the large state was a kind of wisdom in geopolitical games. By presenting precious treasures to other states, he aroused the large state's concern about being jointly opposed by multiple states, thus increasing the possibility of successful peace negotiations. This strategy reflected a precise grasp of the interests and psychology of all parties. The minister accurately analyzed the psychology of the large state and other states. He knew that under the circumstance of having a military advantage, what the large state wanted was to completely defeat the small state and would not readily accept peace proposals. Meanwhile, he also understood the wait-and-see mentality of other states. Once they saw the small state taking the initiative to seek peace, they would judge that sending troops to rescue was not in their own interests. And the large state would also be aware of this point, so it would not take the peace proposal seriously. Such a meticulous insight into the psychology of all parties was the key to formulating effective strategies. 1,000 years ago, the king, fearing the great reputation of the general from the neighboring country, resorted to a scheme of sowing discord. He sent an envoy to deliver a letter to the general along with 3,000 taels of silver, intending to make others mistakenly believe that they had formed an alliance. However, the general directly handed over all the silver to the national treasury, thus causing the scheme of sowing discord to fail. Facing the 3,000 taels of silver sent by the king, the general wasn't the least bit tempted. Instead, he directly handed it over to the national treasury. This demonstrated the general's noble character of being honest and upright in performing his official duties. He wasn't lured by money and firmly adhered to his principles and bottom line. In real life, whether in officialdom, the workplace, or daily interpersonal interactions, being honest and self-disciplined is an extremely important quality. Only by remaining honest and not being swayed by personal interests can one earn the respect and trust of others, and also make the right choices when facing various temptations and trials. It was precisely because the general adhered to the right path of integrity that the king's scheme of sowing discord failed to succeed. This tells us that when we always uphold correct values and codes of conduct, not following the crowd and not being shaken by external interferences and temptations, those improper means and schemes aimed at us will often prove ineffective. For example, in commercial competition, if an enterprise adheres to the principle of operating with integrity and doesn't engage in improper competitive means, it can defeat evil with righteousness and resist the malicious attacks from its competitors. The silver and the letter sent by the king seemed to be a friendly gesture, but in fact, they were sugar-coated bullets with a hidden intention of sowing discord. The general was able to clearly recognize this and resolutely refused. The general's choice not only protected his own reputation but also maintained the normal relations between the countries. He was well aware that if he had accepted the silver, It might have aroused the suspicion of his own monarch and caused tension between the neighboring countries. This warns us that in life we should always remain vigilant. For those sudden benefits, overly enthusiastic overtures, etc., we shouldn't be easily deceived by appearances. We should thoroughly analyze the possible hidden purposes behind them. For example, in social occasions, if someone suddenly gives us expensive gifts and makes some seemingly reasonable requests, we need to carefully consider whether there are other ulterior motives. 2,000 years ago, a king rose in revolt. The emperor sent a general with a military tally to offer amnesty. After arriving at the rebels' base, the general dispatched an emissary to summon the king for a meeting. The king sent a letter, feigning illness and asking the general to come to his residence. The general replied, "I have come on the emperor's orders to receive you. How can I go to your residence? You should make an effort to come despite your illness." Believing that he had a large number of troops and that the general showed no intention of fighting, the king came. He left his soldiers waiting outside. After the king entered the house, the general received him courteously and invited his brothers to enter. When they were all assembled, he closed the door and had the hidden troops slay them all. The whole region was greatly shocked and terrified, and no one dared to rebel again. The combination of mercy and authority. The general first relied on the emperor's order to demonstrate the authority of his mission of amnesty. This was the authority. At the same time, he received the king courteously when he arrived, giving the king a certain psychological buffer and preventing him from immediately becoming alert and resisting. This was the mercy, luring the snake out of its hole. Facing the situation where the king feigned illness and asked the general to go to his residence, the general stood his ground and used words to lure the king. The king thought he was safe and came to the appointment, successfully being lured out of his lair and away from the protection of his military forces, so that the capture plan could be carried out. Capturing the ringleader. The general knew well that as long as the core figures of the rebellion, the king and his brothers, were eliminated, the rebellion could be fundamentally dismantled. So he carefully laid out a plan, lured them all to one place and wiped them out in one fell swoop, avoiding a large-scale war and efficiently resolving the rebellion crisis. Taking by surprise, when the king and his brothers were completely unprepared, the general suddenly launched an ambush and carried out the slaying, which was completely unexpected by them. They had no time to organize a resistance, ensuring the smooth progress of the operation. It also shocked the whole region due to the rapid downfall of the rebel leaders and had a powerful deterrent effect, preventing others from following the example of the rebellion.
More detail, more story, follow me, please.